Hey tribe, it's me, Faye. I know you guys are used to seeing the digital version of me, but here I am, yes, live in person. And this is kind of how I am when I'm hanging around the house. It's nighttime. I'm wrapping things up, and I'm getting ready to start my bedtime routine before I go to bed. But I decided to come into my home office and make this video just for you. And it's, as you can tell, look, I'm wearing my bonnet, I'm wearing my glasses, not as a fashion statement, but honestly, because if not, I'm not able to finagle with the stuff on the screen that I need to be dealing with from time to time. So yeah, but anyways, that's not the reason I came on here, but this is one of the many videos that you'll see from me like this from time to time. And the reason I wanted to come here is you've seen a shift in the message. You've seen a shift in the content, and you're wondering, okay, Faye released a book, Righteousness in the Marketplace, and all of a sudden she's hitting hard the message of righteousness in the marketplace. And some of you have felt a little uncomfortable because it is a little more in your face than what you're used to seeing from me. And so I want to take this time. It's going to take you on a journey of what has led to this message, because it's not a one-time event thing that happened. Yes, about three years ago, the Lord told me to write this book, and I wrote about that in the introduction to the book. But this has really been a lifelong journey. I would say 30 something years out of my almost 50 years of life, this message has been put together through those experiences. And one of the most recent ones where I was really tested, and I knew I passed the test, and that's why God gave me the assignment to write this book, my husband and I were part of a organization that deals with a certain type of insurance. And this was a very well-known organization. If I say the name of it and I say the name of the owner, you guys, a lot of you would recognize exactly who it was. I'm not mentioning names because it's not necessary to, because I'm not here to drag anybody under the bus. But in that organization, some of the leadership asked my husband and I to lie in order for them to be able to advance and receive recognition at the company's most recent event. When my husband and I decided that we were not going to do that, you could have think we cussed the person out and told them they were horrible. They changed completely. Night and day, cold shoulder, gaslighting, you name it. But here's the thing. Had him and I gone ahead with what the person was requesting, my husband already held a license for a certain type of insurance in all 50 states. Not only would he had immediately lost his job because the Department of Insurance would have picked up on that lie very quickly, but he would have been banned from ever again working in that industry for the rest of his life, and the same thing would have happened to me. And imagine having to look at God and say, yeah, I willingly and purposely violated your commandments, and I lied, and I was deceitful for access, for money, because the person that had requested that I do these things was a relative of the owner of the company. So that would have been pretty big access. And that's when you have to weigh what weighs more, your relationship with God or access to people, notoriety, applause, and money. And a long time ago, as a matter of fact, when I was 16 years old, I made the decision that God weighed more, that God meant more to me than anything else. And sure, along the way, I never said that, my life has been perfect or that I've nailed it every time. There's times where I've fallen flat on my face and I've had to go repent and go make it right. But the older I get, the easier it is to not be tempted by those things. The easier it is to say, nah, I'm not going in that route. And so that's what this message is about. It's not judgment. It's not condemnation. It is a call to come higher. It is a call for all of you ladies and men too that are listening to me, who you may have been feeling that nudge in your spirit where God is saying, I don't want you to compromise. Yes, be respectful, be kind, be loving, but set boundaries. Say no. This is not righteous. I want you to conduct your business, conduct your marketing, treat employees in a completely different way than how the industry or the leaders who raised you up are doing it. And you're afraid to rock the boat. You're afraid to stand your ground because you know that there's a possibility that there may be retaliation and other repercussions for that. But I'm here to tell you that because of that stance, I can faithfully tell you, God has never left us or forsake us, and God has always provided for us. God has always made a way. And even when it seemed like the enemy was getting ahead and we were quote unquote losing because we decided to choose integrity, because we decided to choose righteousness, which righteousness is a really big word for the word justice, for being just, for doing what is right. So when we choose that route, God rewards that. God's not gonna let his children just suffer because. And let me make it straight, the rewards is not always financial or more influence and more notoriety or things like that. But there's spiritual rewards. There's the biggest reward any human being can get is peace. I am a lifelong student of psychology, and I am currently pursuing even higher education in the area of psychology and human behavior. And there's an epidemic of like anxiety, depression, people that are feeling so hopeless. They don't have peace. They can't even sleep. And I'm here to tell you, in this day and age, with everything that's going on and everything we're about to see going on, not just here in the United States, but around the world, the biggest thing that you can have in your life is peace. And not just any peace, not the peace the world gives, but the peace that surpasses all understanding. And the only way to have access to that peace is to be righteous before God. And the only way to be righteous before God is to do what Jesus said. If you love me, you will obey my commandments. So this is the journey we're on. And these are some of the topics that I'm going to come on here and talk about. Yes, you've seen the AI version of me in the reels. You've listened to some of the podcasts and you may have noticed that Some of them are scripts that I've written, and I've used my AI clone voice to make that audio recording. And I've been transparent about it. I posted a video here on YouTube saying, yes, I cloned myself. It's also on my website, and we also have an AI policy page link on my website. You can scroll all the way to the bottom of the page at fayejoneslife.com, and you can see that AI policy on there and read it. I've been fully transparent about my use of AI. But for those of you who are not going to go and look at all that, let me tell you why I'm using AI. I'm in a season in my life, like I said, I'm going to school. I'm a mother, I'm a wife, and that's a lot. I'm building this business. That's a lot. Add to that also about 3 years ago, my mother had a really close call. She went in to get a cardiac cath and died during the cardiac cath. They brought her back to life. She woke up in the ICU being told she was going to have a triple bypass and open heart surgery. She had the surgery, but the road hasn't been easy. There's been other health complications and other issues that have surfaced since then. Some of them serious enough that they have required multiple hospitalizations, a lot of doctor's appointments, and in some instances has even hindered her ability to drive. And when this happens, when there's those crisis moments or those, for lack of better words, health relapses, well, as her daughter, and her only daughter, her only child for that matter, I get to step up. And I do it with great joy. It's not a burden to me. But I get to step up and be the one to take her to the hospital, take her to the appointments. And sometimes, if, it's a life-threatening medical condition. So sometimes there's crises in the middle of the night and things like that. So my day is very unpredictable. And in order to continue to pour out what God has put in me, I have had to learn to leverage the use of technology, because if not, I would have had to shut everything down, and that would be it. And shutting everything down would have been disobedience before God, because God had been telling me not only to release this message, but He had been talking to me and teaching me about certain tools that I could use to not only deliver what He wants me to deliver, but to also free up my time so that, number one, I would not be a victim of hustle culture, so that I would have my Sabbath rest, so that I would spend time with my family and still be able to meet all of my other obligations and be present for my family. And so He's showing me not just stewardship of business or finances, but He's showing me life stewardship. And that's where I'm in a season where I'm not about the hustle. Yeah, the AI clone of me required a whole photo shoot, hair done up and everything. But the real me, look, video production has never been my favorite thing. It never has. It's just a thing we do because we understand how platforms work. But if I don't have to go anywhere, I'm not going to have my hair done. This is exactly how you're going to see me. If you come to my house in the middle of the day, this is how you're going to see me. But wearing my glasses because I was doing something on the computer and I need my readers. Because yes, I've reached that kind of age where I have to go like this to read stuff because if it's too far or too close, I can't see it. And I'm not going to be wearing makeup. And I'll either have a real messy bun, or you will spot me wearing one of these. And that's it. It's me. all of me. And if it's during the day, you might even hear my two silkies making a ruckus and singing in the background, because my silkies are indoor silkies. And yes, they wear little tiny chicken diapers with bows on them. They're absolutely cute. And we have a indoor coop that my husband built for them that's absolutely adorable, and it's just like a big giant bird cage thing. They go outside and all that stuff, but they love being inside. They don't like being with the rest of the flock, so they're my indoor pets. And sometimes they start singing and making a bunch of noise, and there's nothing I can do about it. So that's real life. That's where I'm at. Nothing to hide. We're not trying to be perfect. We're just trying to live life intentionally. And yes, build a business. Yes, provide value to people. Yes, share the word that God has given me, but also not at the expense of rest, which He commanded. And it is warfare. It is a weapon of warfare for you to be rested, because the enemy would love nothing more than to have you sick and worn out. And I wasn't going to say this, but those of you who were with me during the Jones Schultz chapter, you know why I had to close that business. You know that I became very sick, and it was literally a moment of life or death. I was experiencing such a bad burnout because I was on hustle mode and on all the time, getting very little rest and everything, that my body was at the point of collapse. And we're not just talking nervous system. I'm talking about I had a gut dysbiosis that led to leaky gut, severe case of histamine intolerance to the point where I became allergic to pretty much every single food that I used to eat except for boiled chicken with no seasonings and lettuce and drinking water. And that was my diet for 6 months, because if I ate anything else, I would have anaphylaxis. And it was to the point that to be able to leave the house and not break out into hives and anaphylaxis, I would have to take a shot of Benadryl. Just to go to the grocery store, just to go into Walmart, because I became very allergic to even environmental things. And it took 7 years to heal from that. From that moment on, I learned the importance of the Sabbath. I learned the importance of not being in hustle culture. I learned the importance of making God my number one strategy for business, and making the appointment with God my first priority, and let Him decide how we're going to do the marketing, how we're going to grow this business, what we're going to do. And I learned that being always visible, always in the spotlight, may not always be beneficial. Because yeah, you can grow in income exponentially and in influence and notoriety and all those things, but sometimes it's at the expense of our health. And I know I'm not the only one with that story, because every day you guys are seeing more and more people who are influential, whether they're influencers or business owners or leaders of, whether they're Christian leaders or thought leaders or whatever, that because they've been in hustle, they're collapsing with health issues. And some of them have even died. So my message is very simple, and it's very clear. There's a better way to do things. And if we as believers can trust God to guide us and show us how to do things His way, we will live the life that's truly life. A life where the blessings bring no sorrow with them. Why? Because they're not the quote-unquote blessings of the world, but the blessing of the Lord. And what does the scripture says? The blessing of the Lord brings no sorrow with it. A lot of us are experiencing sorrow because we are living in a blessing that's not really a blessing. It's a curse disguised as a blessing because it wasn't given by God, it was given by the enemy. So, anyways, that is it for now. I'm not going to keep talking longer because it's getting late and I go to bed with the chickens these days, literally. And I don't want to start rambling. I said everything that I needed to say. But with that said, guys, I love you. God bless. Bye-bye.